Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday, March 22nd, 2017 episode of Free Webinar Wednesdays. This is Eric Cook, and I'm with WSI Digital Marketing, where we work with businesses and organizations and helping them better understand and leverage the power of the internet as a strategic business tool. You can learn more about me and WSI online at www.poweredbywsi.com. With me, and we are back after a couple of weeks out of commission due to some travel and conferences and all sorts of other stuff, is my good friend and Free Webinar Wednesday partner, Mr. Jeff Simpkins. Jeff, say hello to everybody out there in Free Webinar Wednesday world.
Hi, everybody. This is Jeff Simpkins. I'm with Community Bank Consulting, Inc., and you can learn more about me and Community Bank Consulting online at www.communitybankconsulting.com.
Sweet. So how have your last 2-3 weeks? It's been a while since we've been together. What's new with you, Magoo?
They've been good. You know, we finally had winter here in the Carolinas for a few days, and it actually got down to below freezing for a couple months, and
just
summer showed up again yesterday. It was, I think it got to almost 90 yesterday.
Holy smokes! I need to come down for a road trip and visit, I think.
Yeah, we actually had to turn the air conditioning on upstairs when we went to bed last night because it was too hot upstairs to even go to sleep without air conditioning.
Yeah, see, in Michigan this time of the year, if you want air conditioning, just crack a window and you've got 28 degree or less air coming in. Although I think it is getting up there. So we're hopefully, now that spring has arrived and, that hopefully is the symbol that we'll start seeing buds on the trees and the grass is going to start getting green instead of brown and yucky. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. So.
Well, you know, in theory, it would be great to open the windows, but to give you an illustration of why that's not a good option, I went out with the leaf blower a couple of days ago, Friday, I think, and was blowing off the front porch, and there was so much pine tree pollen that it looked like a yellow cloud.
Oh, nice.
So you just can't do that in this area very often.
Deep breaths. So, too funny.
Well, everything in your house would be yellow and sticky like a pine tree.
Yeah, well, that's probably not a good thing. So I guess I will allow you to continue to use your air conditioning then, given the circumstances. Today, Jeff and I have a little bit of a grab bag. We're going to revisit LinkedIn because I think there have been a couple of tweaks and changes, and I've been hearing more scuttlebutt with people kind of pushing back at some of the new designs. So we'll kind of spend kind of a LinkedIn 2.0 from my last little rant, I think the last time we got together. And then Facebook also has made some changes both at the personal level and also at the page level. And it was kind of funny when Jeff and I were chatting and he mentioned Facebook. I was we're consulting for a bank right now that's in the process of getting their Facebook page up and operational, and we were on a webinar. And the places that I thought things had been in the past are no longer in those places anymore. So we kind of had to think on our feet collectively while we were going through configuration and setting options. And so given the fact that we learned a new thing or two, we'll share that as well and kind of go through some of those sorts of things. So before we officially kick off, even though we've done quite a bit of kicking off already, as a reminder, all of our Free Webinar Wednesdays are recorded and made available at freewebinarwednesdays.com. Of course, we have to have them in order to post them. It's one of the challenges of doing a live show is when Jeff or I are not available. It's not like a podcast where we just get on the phone or hop on the computer at 7 o'clock at night and pre-record these and push them out whenever. So we kind of have to both be here. So when we have shows, we post them up to freewebinarwednesdays.com, and you can check them there. And then if there's comments, thoughts, questions, feedback, anything that you'd like to share, or maybe you want to brag about how awesome the weather is in your neck of the woods, feel free to go ahead and use the chat function in your control panel, and we'll keep an eye on that because we do like it when there's interactivity and we get to hear from our audience as well. So with that, let's go back and we'll pick on LinkedIn a little bit. And so, Jeff, I don't know if you've spent much more time in LinkedIn since the last time we kind of went through this. I still am seeing a lot of people kind of both sides of the fence, and there are some things that still aren't quite as good as they used to be, but I have found that they've brought some things back and some stuff that's there. I think I may have missed this little messaging feature, although that might have been something that was recently added. Very similar to Facebook's Messenger. It looks to me like they're trying to provide an opportunity for real-time communication between LinkedIn connections. So I could fire up the little message area there, and I could start a conversation with Jeff, and we could message each other back and forth directly through the message app. And what I'm hearing more and more, because I actually went out to YouTube and I just did a YouTube search for LinkedIn 2017 tour, and I found several other social media consultants that had done their own 20, 30-minute reviews of LinkedIn. And so if you haven't done that yet, that might also be something that would be a good thing for you to do if you'd really like to get your head around this. One of our consultants within the WSI network, he goes by FX. He's French, and I think it's Francois Xavier. But FX within our WSI organization is going to be doing some webinars internally within WSI. So one of the things, and he's one of our G5 social selling trainers as well, is I think I'm going to see if I can get FX to join us and do a more formal discussion around LinkedIn. And when that happens, we'll do a little bit more promotion, put up a feed, kind of a promo on the Free Webinar Wednesday site to kind of do a deeper dive. But just hearing some of these folks kind of chat about it, I think the overriding reason that a lot of people are saying that the big change is, one, they're trying to make it more Microsoft-ish, which I don't know if that's necessarily the reason. I think the reason is they want the desktop experience to be more similar to the mobile experience. And the mobile app got an update a while ago. The messenger functionality works pretty slick in that, so when somebody sends you a message, you can chat back and forth almost in live time. So with the addition of the messenger functionality on the desktop and kind of the cleaner design and the navigation bar simplified, I think that's one of the big reasons why we're seeing so many of these changes, I guess, going on. So one of the things that kind of bugs me, and if you recall, and I unfortunately don't have an old version of a site to look at, but if you can imagine back, there used to be a section up here in the top that kind of gave you some engagement opportunities where you could see when people are having anniversaries and other sorts of events and activities. As I've kind of slowed down a little bit and taken some time, it looks to me like more of those are appearing up in the notifications area. So not necessarily in the notifications here, you kind of have to click to it and get in here. But it looks like there's now more information being fed into these areas. And so you can see, for example, here's a gentleman by the name of Colin. On my mobile device, as well as on my desktop, I think one of the 2 or 3 LinkedIn sessions ago, I talked about the value of connecting your calendar and your contacts to LinkedIn. One of the things that's nice about it, if you do it that way, is it'll give you an opportunity to kind of take a look and see, well, who are you having a meeting with today, and does that email address that's on that calendar invitation have a LinkedIn account associated with it? And if it does, it'll come up and it'll say, hey, if this is the first time that you've met Colin, you could hop here and you could get ready to meet Colin. You could click on this. You could go to his profile. You could even extend an offer to connect with him before you have the conversation. So that's kind of cool, and that was in 2 different spots. So now that's all in one spot. So I almost like the thread here now that I've spent a little bit of time in it, which is kind of cool. One of the things that I've always been a strong advocate of is personalization. And so it gives you the ability. So, for example, I sent Sean a happy birthday wish today. My buddy Brian is also having a happy birthday. So when we click on buttons, oftentimes it's good to double check, because sometimes LinkedIn does not provide you with the ability to customize it. If I were to go to Colin's profile and I would send him an invitation request, that just sends a note, boom, I don't get a chance to personalize it. But for happy birthday, I can click on this, and I kind of get on my soapbox when I do presentations about eliminating the generic stuff. And so we can go ahead and take happy birthday out, and if there's something that I wanted to put in there, maybe I just saw Brian in a conference, maybe there's something that I know personally about Brian, maybe he's a fellow golden retriever lover, or he likes to ride bicycles, whatever the case is, it's important when you do these sorts of things to be able to wipe this information out and to go in and put it on. Now, I sent Sean the happy birthday greeting actually from my mobile device this morning before I had gotten to the computer. So I was down getting coffee, flipping through my LinkedIn feed, and I saw Sean's birthday announcement come through in my notifications. So I was able to personalize it, and I think that's one of the big things that I'll say I like about the new change with LinkedIn is they're trying to make the desktop and the mobile experience similar. And there are a lot of things on the mobile experience that you couldn't personalize that you could on the desktop, and vice versa. And so now they're kind of making those a little bit more consistent. So I think that's pretty cool. If I were just to go ahead and click send, Brian's going to get a bunch of happy birthdays. And if I wanted to take this as an opportunity to stand out, to differentiate myself, to maybe nudge him, maybe Brian's somebody that I've been talking to and would like to, you know, get him to pay a little bit more attention because we're trying to win some business from him. You know, whatever the case is, the more you can make this generic happy birthday or congratulations on your anniversary or congratulations on your promotion look different from what everybody else is sending, the better off you're going to be from a relationship building perspective. So I'm going to take some time to put together a nice, thoughtful message for Brian and not type while I'm actually on a webinar, because usually when I'm on a webinar trying to type, it shows everybody of how often I use the backspace and type things incorrectly. So I'm going to cancel that. So I'll come back and I'll wish Brian a happy birthday later. But you can kind of get some ideas around that. The other thing that I've noticed is, from a messaging perspective, is there, so you can see, here's my happy birthday message, and you can see that Sean has responded back. On the mobile device, and I don't see it listed here because you're probably more apt to be able to type easily when you're on a mobile device. But on a mobile device, I've noticed that they've started adding some little buttons where you could say, you know, you just touch a button and it says thanks, or you can touch a thumbs up, or you can touch some other autoresponder text to try to, you know, help the online but mobile experience to be a little bit easier. As with anything that's templated, I just continue to caution people on using the default template as to what's there, because everybody else is going to be doing that. So it's always a good idea to just see, maybe start that and have it start off with thanks and then continue on with a little bit more information, but you can let LinkedIn kind of type that out for you. So I'm going to pause my motor mouth here for a second and let Jeff get a word in edgewise. Any observations or thoughts on that, Jeff?
Well, anytime you have the opportunity, you and I both strongly agree, sending a personal message is best. One of the things that many people have commented about over the years on LinkedIn that, to the best of my knowledge, hasn't changed, and I do connect with people a lot on LinkedIn, there are a lot of ways. You know, LinkedIn has gone through a period of time that they made it really, really hard to connect with people. They seem to have moved in the opposite direction of that now. They're trying to encourage folks to connect on LinkedIn. And you and I have both said many times over the years whenever you want to connect with someone on LinkedIn, take the time to send a personal message, how you met, how you know them, things like that. That certainly is good, as well as with birthday greetings, career accomplishments, and things like that. But keep in mind there are quite a few opportunities to connect on LinkedIn these days that you just don't have that choice. It just asks you if you want to connect with this person, and you click and it's done. Have you noticed that, Eric?
I have. And, you know, I always like to test it, and it's funny, even on one of the YouTube videos that I was watching, you know, from one of the other folks that was doing a demo, you know, she made the comment. She's like, well, you know, let's say, you know, maybe I want to get connected with Chrissy. Maybe that's something that I'd like to go ahead and click on connect and you know, send her a message. And so she tested it, and she clicked on connect, and it just shot a connection request. And so she was kind of like, well, I guess that kind of answers the question. So she was a paid LinkedIn user, so she had some InMails that she could use as part of her networking activity. So she's, you know, admittedly said, when I get off the webinar, I'm going to send Chrissy an email or an InMail, she said, kind of explaining why I just blindly reached out to connect with you and kind of explain the situation. So, it's not always been consistent, which is kind of a struggle, because it used to be, you know, if you click here, that I think is going to send a connection request directly. But if I go to her profile and I pull up her profile, and I don't know Chrissy, but if I click on connect here, then I believe in this instance it's going to give us the ability to personalize the invitation and, you know, either indicate how we know each other, or maybe we're part of a similar group, or whatever the case is. Because I think at this level we still have the ability to personalize the connection request. But testing is always a good thing, because they will change things, and they don't always tell you when they've changed things. So
you and I both have a similar thought when it comes to connecting on social media, and have for years. I believe the term is we tend to be lions, which is someone that is pretty open to connecting on social media. Did I use the correct term, lion, as opposed to cougar?
Yeah. I will leave all the funny cougar LinkedIn Open Networker, I think, LION or LI, yeah, LinkedIn Open Networker, lion. I won't try to spell what cougar means, but everybody knows what a cougar is, so we'll move on, Jeff.
And both you and I have said, probably in the last year to 18 months, we are less free with just accepting connection requests on LinkedIn and other social media as well. You know, now, at a minimum, I will look at my requests on LinkedIn and other social media and see if there's some type of loose connection. Do we know people in common? Are we in the same industry, or things like that? Because I think both you and I and many, many other people have had issues with not necessarily hacking into our profiles, but folks sending us connection requests and then trying to use us as a way to get to other people for inappropriate business type connections.
Yeah, I would agree. And, you know, we've all experienced that somebody connects with you and you're not exactly sure where you found them, but like Jeff, you know, both of us speak around the country, and there could have been somebody in the audience, someplace that we were at. There could be somebody sitting on a free webinar Wednesdays or listens to the recording and says, you know, wow, those guys are really smart. I would like to connect with them on LinkedIn. I'm sure that's exactly how they sound too. But they may send us a request, and we don't necessarily know where they're coming from, so we've always done, you know, accepted those. And then they turn around and they immediately try to hawk you a product or a service. Or they're like, hey, you know, I think we have some synergies here, and I really want to talk to you about this, that, or the other. And you can tell that it's a generic pitch that they've typed up and put into Notepad that they basically just dump in. They claim to say, I was looking at your profile and it looks like, there's a lot of things that we have in common. Part of me wants to go back to them and say, what is it that we have in common? Where are the similarities that you feel exist between the two of us? And, make them work for it a little bit. And maybe I'll be surprised that somebody will say, well, we both went down to college, or we both, or blah, blah. So there may be a way to do that. But I agree with you. I think there are people out there that are not using LinkedIn probably the right way. They're getting into social selling and thinking that it's super easy. And, they blast out 1,000 invitations and they get a little bit of response. That little bit of response is reinforcing them to continue to do it, which is unfortunate. So I think it has gotten a little bit easier to disconnect with somebody. So if you go to their profile and you can take a look at your connections, it's a little bit more straightforward on how to actually disconnect with someone. So let me kind of go ahead and do that here real quick. So if I go through, I have a connection request. So we'll go back and respond to that. But let me see here. I'm trying to remember where I found that. So Jeff, why don't you talk about something while I dig around? So I go into see all. Here we go. So if I go into see all, so you go to your network, you go to see all. Now you've got a much easier way. And I said that it was easy, and it took me a while to find it. So it's kind of an oxymoron there. But it used to be even more difficult to remove somebody. And so this is kind of building everything in chronological order. So this is a gentleman that I happen to know through a colleague of mine that's in South Africa. So there was a connection there because he knew Francois. So you can see recently added, but you can also now sort it by first name and last name. The thing that they did eliminate in this version that some people may have had created is you could create lists. I never got to the extent where I did that with LinkedIn, but I know that some people actually created lists, and you could say, these are all the people that I know from banking, or these are all the people that I know from WSI, and you add them to a list. Those essentially just got removed. So we don't have the ability to get back to those, so those are all gone. But you can go into your network and look at all your connections, and you could send somebody a message request here. You also have the ability to go directly through the messenger area, so I could go into the message here, and if I wanted to send Tyler, for example, I could go in and I could just create a message like this, or I could just click there, and now I've got chat capability. And if he's got the LinkedIn app on his phone, he'll have a chat-like experience that he can use on his iPhone, or he can do it from his computer. So I'm going to discard that because Tyler doesn't need to hear from me right now. So what I was starting to do from a search perspective, because that was another area that a lot of people are concerned about, because the search functionality that some people were using as a prospecting tool, especially in the free version, because I'm still not convinced that I need to pay $50 a month for LinkedIn. But the free version had some pretty good search capabilities. Being familiar, and I think it's called Boolean searching, where you're using connector keywords like and or and stringing things together with quotations. If you're familiar with that, and if you're not, Google it and figure out how to do a Boolean search. But you can go through and you can start creating some searches that then give you the ability to kind of nail things down a little bit more succinctly, and then you can personalize some stuff here. So you can see if I'm interested, and this is where I've kind of gone back to I'm looking for people that have marketing and banking as part of their description, second tier connections, because these are people that know people that I'm already connected to. In the old search, you may recall, if you saw somebody that came up and said you had shared connections, you could actually click on the connections and it would show you who you knew. Now it just says 22 shared connections. So there's no really easy way for you to get to that unless I go to Christy's profile, and then look and see if it reveals that information for me. So I'm finding myself using control clicks a lot more. And by doing that, what that does is when you do a control click, or if you're on a Mac, you can do a command click, you'll see that I clicked on her profile, but what it did is it opened up in a new tab. So I can still keep this window open, but now I use a little shortcut, magic. And now I've been able to go in and I pulled hers up. And then I can roll through and I can take a look and kind of see her profile a little bit more, see what sorts of features and skills she's got. And now I can go through and kind of get a little bit better idea of her profile and whatnot. And I can close that, but still have the search up here. The other thing that I have heard, and I see that they now have got a search alert option here. I think the free account, you still are able to save maybe 3 searches. But if I wanted to get alerts anytime activity within banking and marketing changed, I could create a search alert. Or as I start building out these different search terms, the URL that gets created up here is one that you can copy. And then if you were to go to another page and just insert that search term, you could go and you could paste that search URL into any browser. And as long as you are logged into LinkedIn, you can see that I've actually created a search for marketing and banking in search. So it matches exactly what I've got here. So what some people are doing that don't have the free account, or that don't have the paid account, that have the free account, is they're creating some of these searches. So maybe I'm interested in, narrowing that focus down even further. Maybe I'm looking for just Michigan, or maybe I'm looking for people whose current position has the words marketing in it, not previous. So you can narrow those down, and then once you find a search phrase that works for you, just create a little text file or a Word document and save those, and then you've got that accessible to you down the road, so you can always come back and rerun those searches. So it's a little bit more manually involved than what it used to be, but it gives you some of those capabilities. So I'm going to go here and I'm just going to create a search alert, and I can see marketing and banking, second-tier connections. I can have it basically be sent weekly, and that's about it. And I can get notified by email. So this will just tell me if anything in the world of marketing and banking changes, and I'm going to go ahead and save that. My gut tells me on the paid plan, you probably have got some other options there for daily updates. You can maybe have a text message sent to you, but I've not really dug into that a whole lot because I normally don't use search alerts, but we'll give that a shot and see how that works. So you can jump back in and make an edit there if you want to do that too. So that's kind of some search, and we talked about messaging, the notifications, and so you can see somebody just looked at my profile, which is cool. So anyway, kind of gives you some ideas. Anything else you want to chat about, Jeff, or you want to mosey on over to Big Blue and check out Facebook?
Yeah, let's check out Facebook.
Cool. Okay. And just as a free public service, I'll go over to Facebook, but I know I've talked about the Zest guys before. Oh, nice. And a cheesy picture of me wearing a balloon hat shows up on the first picture. Beautiful.
That's a good picture.
Thank you, Time Hop.
It actually expresses your personality well.
Yeah. So some of you that maybe have not seen a past episode, I'm using a little plugin called Zest, which I really like, and I use Chrome as my primary browser. You can see I'm a little bit of an extension junkie, got lots going on here. But one of the Chrome extensions that I use is this Zest, and the cool part about it is it's user kind of curated articles that are, you can see I've got some tags listed here, some things that I'm interested in. So anytime I open a new tab, I can still get to all my Google apps like a new tab used to do, But now I've got a curated area that gives me the ability to look up really cool articles, and if I'm looking for content to share, post, distribute, inspire me for a blog post, something along those lines, Zest has given me a lot of really cool information. So, so it's something that if you're interested in content and ideas and you're a reader and you just like keeping up on what's new, you can kind of take a peek at Zest, and that'll be kind of fun for you. So, yep, there's my
question for you.
Yes, sir.
I too am a big advocate of Chrome. Really, really successful using it on the Mac. Do you use Safari at all?
I don't. The only time I go into Safari is when we're testing websites, because I know a lot of Mac users will use Safari by default. But I have so many extensions. I find that my G Suite programs work the best in Chrome. No surprise, Chrome is Google and G Suite is Google. So very rarely will I ever get into Safari. I don't know if you are that way as well, but I pretty much live in Chrome, and then I also do a lot of development stuff in Firefox, because that has some really nice developer tools to be able to dissect web pages and some other analytics. So it's one of those two that I spend the majority of my time in.
The reason I ask, I actually keep 2 email accounts open at one time, and while you can 2 email accounts that are hosted by Google, and while you can do that in the same browser, it's just easier if you do it in separate browsers.
Yep.
So I use Safari to keep my personal email open. And one of the things that I've noticed about Safari, well, since the last major update of the operating system for the Mac, is it seems to have slowed down a lot. I was just going to ask if you were having a similar experience.
No, I couldn't tell you one way or another. Like I said, we hop into Safari when we build a new website for a client. We test it there just to make sure it's good, and that's about the extent of it. So, too bad Mr. McPherson isn't with us. Maybe his ears are ringing and he'll decide to chime in. So, I know he's a big WebKit Safari guy. So. So you had said that there were some things from a personal perspective on Facebook that has changed, and so I wanted to spend some time. But I also got a page up. This is our cycling team. So rather than pull up one of our bank sites, I figured I would go ahead and just pull up the cycling team as an example from an editor/page management perspective. So, but was there something in Facebook that you wanted us to take a particular look at?
Let's see here. They seem to have changed in the last few days. When you like and comment on a post. And actually, I'm not seeing it in the online version. It's in the mobile version of Facebook. You now have to click on, that post of mine that you have up is actually a really great post that talks about a good way for folks with teenagers and 20-somethings, if their kids are in a situation they want to get out of, how to handle it. So anybody that wants to look at that post, if you're not friends with me, just send me a friend request. But on the mobile version of Facebook now, you actually, if you're going to like or comment a comment, so if you're going to like a comment or add a comment, you actually have to click on it to unfold, which I'm hoping is one of those changes that they will either tweak it and make it work better, or will bring it back the old way, because I'm having challenges with that when I'm using Facebook on my mobile device now.
Interesting. I did catch something. Facebook was testing the font styles, within Facebook.
The font styles have changed as well, yes, in the mobile version.
So they are allowing the font to be the native font that you're using for your device. And so if you're a MacBook user, if you're iOS, if you're Android, they're starting to roll out just kind of more of a, hey, this is the system font that you want, so we're just going to allow that system font to carry over. And I guess the reason behind that is to give it more of a personalized experience, so that that's the font that you're used to seeing in all the other system operations. Let's just go ahead and let that font carry over directly into Facebook and, make it look like it's more part of your computer, I guess. I've not really noticed a change. Maybe it hasn't yet, because I know that they were kind of gently rolling that out. I've not noticed a change in my Facebook experience, but it could very well be that it just hasn't hit me yet. So, one of the other things that I want to point out. Go ahead.
I do have a feature that they added not so long ago that I love and wish they would expand. Go back and hover over the like.
Okay.
So I really like the ability to like, love, smile, wow, sad, and angry. I like more choices than like, and I wish they would expand those to when you are responding to comments that are made on a post, so that you can do more than like.
Gotcha. So if Lisa posted something in, maybe it wasn't so good, and it was something that you were sad about, you could go ahead, instead of clicking on like, you could express sadness or shock or excitement directly through here, instead of just liking a comment.
Absolutely. That's my,
Gotcha.
If I could ask Facebook for one feature to expand, that would be my choice today.
There we go. I want to point out, Jeff, you got a little blue star, and I want to make sure everybody understands what that means. And if you don't realize, Facebook controls everything that you see. Sit down. There's no such thing as the Easter Bunny. Santa's not real, and Facebook controls everything that you see. So hopefully there's no children listening, because I've just crushed the, all in one fell swoop. But Facebook has, there's always a Santa Claus. Come on, let's be real. It's in your heart, right? We'll go there. But the reality is, Facebook does control everything that you see, whether you believe in Santa Claus or not. Facebook controls everything. And so within Facebook, they have set their own algorithm, very similar to the algorithm that drives everything that shows in a Google search results. And that algorithm is based off of interactivity. It downplays significantly businesses. It also looks for people that you are maybe more connected with, but you have the ability to override that if you wish. And you can see, I'm seeing a lot of Jeff's posts, not because we just happen to be talking on the phone together, although I do think that there is some really creepy kind of vocal recognition capabilities with Facebook and your mobile device that I'm convinced they're listening and they're making changes and doing stuff based off of what they hear us saying. But that might just be conspiracy theory, Eric, coming out.
By the way, Eric, I've heard at least one other person say that doesn't know you and you have no connection to. So you're not the only one that has noticed things that has made someone think that.
Yeah. So I was just allow me to go on a brief little tangent here, but I was recently in San Antonio, Texas for a conference where I presented, and I was hanging out with a buddy and his wife, and we were walking down the Riverwalk, and she asked if I had ever been to a Whataburger before, because we were looking for a place to eat, and I had not. I'd never even heard of them before, and I'm like, what's Whataburger? And she said, well, it's a chain. I don't know if they have any in the Riverwalk, but it's a burger place, kind of like,
Hopefully you found out what it is, by the way.
I did not, although when I got on Facebook the next day, lo and behold, I started seeing Whataburger advertisements in my Facebook feed. And I don't know if it was because they were targeting individuals that were in San Antonio, and I just happen to fit the profile of somebody that likes to eat a cheeseburger every once in a while, or if there was some sort of a vocal recognition by Facebook that said Eric has been talking about Whataburger. Whataburger is an advertiser. Maybe Whataburger would be interested. Because we do Google advertising, we do Facebook advertising. I've not seen any settings in the back end that allow me to say leverage voice recognition to push my ads or my customers' ads. So I don't know if it's just a secret little algorithm that Facebook has, or if it's something that it's just circumstance and it just happens to be that way, and we're putting 2 and 2 together and thinking it's 4. But yeah, I apparently need to go to a Whataburger, and Whataburger. I'm saying it a lot, so let's see what happens over the next couple of days, and if I start getting more advertisements, even though I'm not in San Antonio anymore. So anyway, before I jumped off on that little stocky sidebar, you'll notice that Jeff has a little blue dot. So does the Graduate School of Banking at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, where I had the pleasure of attending as a banker, and now I'm on faculty there. So in the algorithm for Facebook, they are pushing friend information and certainly downplaying any business or page-related information, because Facebook knows, one, most people are interested in connecting with their friends, you know, and not necessarily seeing a lot of business-related posts. But if there's a friend out there that you really want to make sure that you don't miss an opportunity, and I really like the quotes that Jeff shares through his Facebook, you can actually turn on notifications and say, I want to see his stuff first. I don't care what your algorithm says. I don't care that you think that I need to see his stuff every once in a while. I'm a friend with Jeff, and then I can go here and I can select see first. And this gives me the ability. Now, you've got default, which just allows it to kind of do its own thing, and I might see some stuff, and I might not see some stuff. But if there are people out there that you really want to make sure that you're taking the effort to connecting with, the see first is going to give you an opportunity to do that. If we go to the Graduate School of Banking, for example, and I see the Graduate School of Banking is here, because this is the other example. That's a really nice headshot, by the way, Jeff. It's very attractive, very handsome.
Thank you. That was actually done in San Antonio.
Oh, look at that. So, so let's see if we can get the Graduate School of Banking to show up. So here we found Graduate School of Banking. So I'm going to click over and go to their page. Come on. And so now what you can see is the engagement opportunity, and this is the union, and I absolutely love sit outside and have a nice Wisconsin beer, look at the lake. Anyway, so you can see that I like the page, obviously. Yes, and eat bacon and cheese and all the other healthy stuff that Wisconsinites actually. So you can see I'm following the page, which is good. And by default, it always goes to default. But you can see that I've actually clicked see first. But businesses also now have the ability to give you an option to get notified anytime they're doing an event or a live video. So let's say GSB was going to be doing a live streaming event at the student union to kind of build excitement for the August Graduate School Banking session, and, you know, hey, the snow's finally melted, we're really excited to welcome everybody back, blah, blah, blah. Because I have chosen to see first, the feeds are going to appear. So when I log into Facebook, I'm going to have a higher opportunity to see those. So those of you that have customers that have Facebook pages, it's a really good idea to go find their pages and flag them as see first, so that when the businesses that are doing business with you or the business owners that might be friends of yours on Facebook post, might not be a bad idea to know when they're posting, what they're saying. It just creates that engagement opportunity. Just like changing the default text in LinkedIn, you now have the ability to participate with those folks and kind of know what's going on. But as businesses start doing more live video, if the Graduate School of Banking hops on Facebook Live video, I'd really like to see that. You know, if Kirby's going to be on a video, I'd like to see Kirby, and then I'd like to chime in and say, hey, and maybe razz him a little bit in the comments. And so you can turn that on as well, and that gives you the ability to get notified anybody that you're interested in is hopping on Facebook to do a little bit more engagement, a little bit more activity. So a couple of things that, I think I probably talked about this before, but since we're looking at Jeff's profile and we saw the little blue stars, it's a good idea to kind of remind everybody that you can tweak that algorithm a little bit and kind of turn up the volume for some pages. Because if I didn't do this, chances are I wouldn't probably see a ton of information on the Graduate School of Banking, because I don't go to their page a lot. I don't like it and follow it and comment on it a lot. But I am very interested in when they post an update as to what's going on. So
I think you're limited to 20 people that you can add to the top of your list when you choose people to add, because I've done that, and I'm pretty sure it maxed out at 20.
Okay. All right. So
now that could have changed, but just if anybody's interested, keep in mind there may be and probably is an upper limit, and I think it's 20 unless it's changed.
Okay, cool. So you can see that Pennsylvania Bankers Association, they're also one of the ones that I clicked on. I'm on faculty for them at their Advanced School of Banking. And so here you can see Wayne Banks getting an announcement. So you've got the blue there. So it just kind of helps put some of the ones that you would want to see up a little bit further. And then you can kind of jump down. You can kind of see some other stuff. So it's just a good way of somewhat filtering what's going on in the world of Facebook so that you see what you really want to see. Anything else on the personal side, or we want to maybe hop over onto the page side for a quick sec?
We have about 10 minutes, so let's go ahead and hop over on the page side.
Okay. I mentioned messaging before, and so if you're not familiar, Facebook has created a separate standalone site called Messenger that you can use as a messaging tool with the Facebook Messenger app, and you don't even need to have a Facebook account. You'll need to create a Messenger account, but this gives you the ability to actually create messages and use it, and you can use it on the desktop, or you can actually use it on your phone. There's a little bot, so I subscribe to the TechCrunch Messenger bot, and every day it sends me a daily digest of cool little technology articles that I may want to read, so some more reading shiny objects that are kind of fun. I don't know if you caught this one, Jeff. Send a Kindle option for iOS, which is going to be somewhat of a competitor to Pocket, which is a little snipping tool. Sometimes if you're on your phone and you see an article that you want to read, you can use a service called Pocket, and that sends the article into your Pocket app, and then it'll save it for you, and then you can come back later. And so maybe during the day you hit Pocket, you push a bunch of articles there, and then in the evening you can hop into Pocket when you've got some time to actually read them. So Kindle is now starting to give that an option, so you can actually read those articles directly in your Kindle app. So kind of cool. But
very cool.
Anyway, I digress. Yeah. So you can use Messenger to communicate with your friends, but there's also the ability within your settings on your business page. Now, we're not going to do it for our cycling team because nobody really kind of is actively managing the team. We just post news and events and updates. But if you go into your settings, you can go into the messaging area, and this allows you to create some business kind of autoresponder notifications. You can turn the Messenger function on your page and make it more of a legitimate kind of businessy communication tool. And in the banking world, where Jeff and I spend the majority of our time, there's certain things that we probably won't want somebody sharing over Messenger, like account-related information, birthday, social security number. So when you turn on Messenger and you make it available, and you control that button so you can say, allow us to send messages, you can use an autoresponder. So if somebody's not there and the page isn't being actively managed, it'll come back and say, hey, nobody's available. Our office is open Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. You can send an instant reply to somebody when they send a post and it comes back to let people know that you'll respond. And then you can also show a messenger greeting, which will load the very first time somebody initiates a conversation with you. So in the banking industry, if your bank wanted to implement, or even your business, implement this on the Facebook account, somebody initiates a messenger, you could have that initial greeting comes back and say, thanks for your interest in talking to the Eric and Jeff Bank. For security purposes, please don't ever share confidential information or account numbers. And if you have an account-related question, maybe I give them the customer phone number so they can call the bank. And and so there's that initial disclosure to protect the customer, and then anytime thereafter they send a message request, you can get that notification that says, hey, thanks for your message, we'll be right with you. And then if somebody tries to send a message to you on a Sunday afternoon when the business is closed because you've set your hours of operation in your settings, you can get that autoresponder that says, again, in the banking world, nobody's available to chat with you. If you've lost your debit card or it's been stolen, here's the toll-free hotline. It's available 24/7. So you could kind of bake that into the autoresponder process. So this makes Facebook a little bit more of a communication platform, and the autoresponder technology is kind of cool because it gives you the ability to do that. There's also some new functions, and you take a look at the page settings. So Facebook by default creates these different tabs that show up on the left-hand side, and they'll give you the ability to turn different tabs on and off, and you can go in and you can pick different templates. So you can go in and you can say, well, maybe the WSI cycling is more of a service, or just general, or it's maybe more of a venue, or whatever the case is. You can take a look and see what Facebook, kind of the buttons on the page. It gives you maybe a little bit different layouts, shows you what shows up in the tabs. So for a venue, an event might be important. Videos, posts, show, photos, those are going to be things that are going to be, more visible. Whereas just if you take a look at shopping, shopping may not necessarily have the same elements. So depending on your business style, you can go ahead and pick a different page, and it'll add different buttons on the left-hand side. But you always have the option. It looks like all of these are turned on this page. But you can always go through if you see something that's not there. For example, shop, probably don't really need shopping turned on for the cycling page, so I can turn that off. But each one of those buttons or tabs gives you the ability to actually create its own URL. So I'm going to turn the shopping option off. So that's kind of neat. And then the last thing that I'll share is if I pop over to Free Webinar Wednesdays, there's a nifty little tab called Notes. And very similar to when you hop on LinkedIn, you want to create like a post or an article as opposed to just a post. Notes give you the ability to create kind of a rich, I'll say a rich text article, if you will. So if you go to our Free Webinar Wednesdays page, we'll kick the computer internet into top gear here because it looks like things are bogging down on us. In the last 5 minutes, the internet's going to crash on me, Jeff. How much is that stuff? Yeah, exactly. Somebody liked my photo. I have no idea what photo they like, but it's cool that they gave me a heart. So that's cool. Now let's see if I can. Cue the Jeopardy music. Any questions from the audience? This is how you kill time when your computer freezes on you. Oh, come on. So
here's a distraction. I for years have wanted to get a copy of the old Milli Vanilli song, "Girl, You Know It's True," or something like that, and it hasn't been available because, of course, as most people know that are old enough to remember, the song was a fraud. They were lip syncing, but I have happy news to report. This morning I found it on. It's been added to Apple Music Unlimited.
Nice.
2 versions, nonetheless.
Wow, the remastered version. That's pretty impressive. Very cool. Yeah, I caught a VH1 documentary on that, and pretty sad what happened. One of the guys ended up killing himself, and the other one tried to make it and didn't. I don't think really well. I don't think he has passed away, but one of the guys couldn't take it, and it was an unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, now, okay, now we see it. Your system has run out of application memory.
Yeah, yay! So time for a reboot.
We do free webinar Wednesdays now.
Yep. So, yeah. So it looks like my memory. I got the spinning beach ball now, so it looks like I may not be able to share this with you. So anyway, if you were to go to Free Webinar Wednesday's Facebook page, and if you haven't hit the like button yet, we'd love for you to do that too. Go over to the notes section, and you'll see that you have the ability to create articles within the actual Facebook system that can give you the ability to put like a banner image. You can make text bold. You can hyperlink things. You can make italics. So it gives you the ability to literally create little mini articles that you could post. So if you wanted to put detailed information about terms and conditions, or you wanted to post your privacy policy, or you wanted to post some detailed information about an event or an activity beyond just the event itself, the notes give you kind of a cool way of actually posting some additional information that otherwise you wouldn't be able to do, and they stay out there and, you know, kind of get organized chronologically. It's really kind of a cool service. So check out Notes if you are so inclined and haven't done so already.
Seeing the Free Webinar Wednesdays Facebook page reminded me, sometime in the last few days, I saw some pictures pop up in my Amazon Photos app of the weekend we were at your house designing Free Webinar Wednesday. So we must be coming up on a, 7 or 8 year anniversary?
Yeah, I think I want to say April 1st, because I always go back to April Fool's Day. April 1st was when we started, and I'm trying to remember the year. Our very first guest, his mother was the voiceover. Was it for Wilma or Betty Rubble?
It's Roger DeWitt, and it's she was Wilma Flintstone, I believe.
Yes. So if you just do a little Google search, and unfortunately all of those recordings have been deleted. We had them on before we got into YouTube. We had several other places that we were hosting recordings, and those have been removed. But if you do a search for Free Webinar Wednesdays, Roger DeWitt, you'll find our very first post, and we talked about podcasting at the time, if memory serves. So you can look that up. But yeah, we're coming up on, it's probably close to 8 years now, I would suspect.
I would think so, because Community Bank
happy early anniversary
turned 8 years old last year, so I suspect this would be 8 years for Free Webinar Wednesdays this year.
Yeah, so cool. Well, I just looked at the clock, and we, in addition to staring at my frozen screen, have reached the top of the hour, my friend. So I really hope that this recording just didn't get screwed up, because we shared a lot of really cool stuff that I'm hoping I can end up putting out to the Free Webinar Wednesday site. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. Pray for me and my technology, if you would. But we'll close today's show. It's been great catching up with you, Jeff, and thank you for everybody that hopped on live. And we will see you on our next show, which I believe we will still be able to have next week. I don't think I'm actually be traveling for a couple of weeks now. So we will continue the free webinar Wednesdays while we are both available, and look forward to seeing everybody at freewebinarwednesdays.com. So have a good one. See you, everybody.